Alright, let's just cut straight to it. What is really going on in Cleveland? Because I'm looking at this situation, you're looking at this situation, and absolutely nothing makes sense. The Cleveland Browns organization is in a complete freefall, the season is a disaster, and they are at the center of a media firestorm that is getting worse and louder every single day. And the one name at the heart of it all? Shedeur Sanders. This should be simple. It really should. This should be a routine. When does the rookie play? Conversation, but it's not. This has evolved. This has gone from a typical quarterback debate to a full-blown crisis, a mystery wrapped in dysfunction. We have insider revelations, we have emotional family moments, we have NFL legends weighing in, and it all points to what might be one of the most mishandled rookie quarterback situations we have seen in recent memory. And just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, Mary Kay Cabot, who knows that organization inside and out, just dropped an absolute bombshell update. And what she's reporting has sent shockwaves through the entire football world. She's revealing details that don't just suggest dysfunction, they scream it from the rooftops. We are talking about a franchise that seems terrified, literally terrified, of its own quarterback. Think about that for a second. With the season already in the toilet, with the playoffs a distant memory, they are actively avoiding finding out what they have in a guy they invested a high pick in. Why? Why would they do this? The timing couldn't be more critical. The season is slipping through their fingers and the questions are mounting. Why is one of the most talented quarterbacks from this year's draft, a guy with all the pedigree, glued to the sideline while the team just continues its downward spiral? This isn't just about football anymore. This is about organizational dysfunction. This is about potentially personal relationships that have gone sour. And it's about a young man's professional future hanging in the balance. The situation has gotten so volatile that former NFL stars, guys who have been in the trenches, are now publicly challenging the Browns' entire decision-making process. Shady McCoy, LaShawn McCoy, a former All-Pro running back who knows what a winning and losing locker room looks like. He didn't mince words. He came right out and essentially accused head coach Kevin Stefanski of personal bias against Sanders. He said he just doesn't like him. Let that sink in. We're not talking about X's and O's. We're not talking about he's not ready or he's still learning the playbook. Shady's argument from one pro to another is that this is a personal grudge. This is a coach who just does not like his player. And when you look at the evidence, as flimsy as it might seem from the outside, it's hard to argue. Think about those press conferences. We've all seen them. Stefanski gets asked about Shedeur, and what does he do? He gives these non-answers. He's working hard. He's in the meetings. He's developing. He never says anything genuinely positive. He never says we're excited about his development, or he's showing great promise, or his time is coming. It's the bare minimum. It is, as they say, damning with faint praise. It's what you say when you have nothing good to say, but you can't say anything bad. And McCoy's point is, if this wasn't personal, you would have no logical reason not to play him. None. Because what is the alternative? Dillon Gabriel. Now, no disrespect to Dillon Gabriel, he's an NFL quarterback, he's earned a spot in the league. But we've seen the tape. We've seen games of tape. He's fine. He's adequate. He's serviceable. He is a backup quarterback. He is not the guy. He is not going to elevate this offense. He is not the future. The team is losing with him. So you have a choice. You're the head coach. You can keep losing with the guy you know isn't the answer, or you can take a shot, any shot, on the guy you invested in, the guy with the high ceiling, the guy who dominated in college, the guy who has all the physical tools. The Cleveland Browns have nothing to lose. They are out of the playoff hunt. These last games of the season are meaningless, unless you use them for evaluation, and they are refusing to do it. This refusal, this stubbornness to stick with what is demonstrably not working is what makes Shady McCoy's theory so believable. For a lot of people, it's the only theory that explains the complete and total lack of logic coming out of Cleveland. Meanwhile, you've got other Cleveland insiders like Tony Grossi, and they're debating this whole thing, trying to find some logic. Grossi entered the chat from a different angle, basically questioning what the Browns would even accomplish by playing Shedeur at this point. His argument was, look, whether Sanders plays 4 games, 6 games, or 8 games, it doesn't matter. This organization is probably going to draft another quarterback in the first round next year anyway. So his argument is, why bother? Why throw him out there just to throw him out there? And to me, that that is an even more terrifying indictment of the Cleveland Browns. That perspective reveals a level of dysfunction that is just breathtaking. You are admitting that you drafted a guy, and before he has taken a single meaningful snap, you've already given up on him. You've already decided to draft his replacement. What kind of operation is that? How can you possibly justify that? How can you make an informed decision about next year's draft if you don't know what you have this year? How do you justify to your owner, to your GM, to your fans, spending another premium first-round pick on another quarterback when you have a perfectly good one, a highly touted one, sitting right there on your bench that you were too afraid or too stubborn to even look at? Grossi's point, which he thinks is practical, actually just exposes the entire organizational philosophy as being based on fear, incompetence, and a total lack of a plan. And this brings us right back to what Mary Kay Cabot revealed. She added her own insight, and it's chilling. She said the Browns do not want to be in a position where they're starting Shedeur Sanders for, say, the last 7 games. And the reasoning? The question they're asking themselves: what happens if it doesn't work out? Think about how cowardly that is. This is the National Football League. You are paid millions and millions of dollars to make hard decisions and to evaluate talent. And your entire mentality is, what if he's bad? Well, what if he's good? What if he's the guy? Isn't that the entire point of the draft? Isn't that the lottery ticket you bought? They are so terrified of him failing that they are preventing him from even having the chance to succeed. They would rather live in the comfortable ignorance of Dylan Gabriel, knowing he's not the answer, than risk finding out that Shedeur also might not be the answer. Or maybe even worse in their minds, what if he plays and he struggles, like all rookie quarterbacks do, and then they really have a decision to make? It's paralysis. They are paralyzed by fear, and while all this mess, this organizational chaos is swirling, you have the human being at the center of it, Shedeur Sanders, and this is the part of the story that just gets lost in the business. This is what makes it so much more than just football. This is the part that makes you feel for the kid. Shedeur himself recently opened up about why he made that sudden, unexpected trip to visit his father, Deion Primetime Sanders, at the University of Colorado in the middle of the NFL season. This wasn't a planned bye-week vacation. This was a spur-of-the-moment thing. He said he just woke up one morning and decided he had to go. He flew to Boulder for one day, just to be around his family, to find some peace, to escape what has to be an increasingly toxic and isolating situation in Cleveland. The emotion was raw. He was vulnerable. He talked about how much pressure he's under. He talked about dealing with a back injury, a nagging back issue that he's getting constant treatment for. He described these long sessions, medical staff working on him, trying to get him ready. Ready for what? Ready to stand on the sideline in a baseball cap? The frustration in his voice was so clear. He's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's rehabbing, he's preparing, and for what? To watch a guy who he knows isn't as good as him get every single opportunity week after week. So he flies home. He flies home to get grounded. He said it himself, and he repeated it multiple times. Family is priceless. In this brutal, multi-billion-dollar business that treats players like assets, like expendable pieces on a chessboard, he reminded everyone that he's a person. He's a young man. He's dealing with immense physical pain from his back, and he's dealing with the mental stress of his career being stalled for reasons he can't control. He needed his father. He needed that support system. And honestly, good for him. Good for him for recognizing he needed that escape, that he needed that mental health day. But it begs the question, how bad does it have to be in Cleveland for a rookie to feel the need to do that? To just escape for 24 hours, fly across the country just to feel normal again? And think about the dynamic there. He didn't just go for himself. He said he wanted to bring a spark, some happiness to his father. He acknowledged that he hadn't seen his dad in a while, and he recognized that Primetime was going through his own struggles, navigating his own challenges as the head coach at Colorado. So here's Shedeur in the middle of his own professional nightmare, his NFL dream turning sour before it even starts. And his first thought is, I want to go cheer my dad up. That is a level of maturity, a level of perspective that is incredibly rare. That is exactly the kind of character you say you want leading your franchise. A guy who, under immense personal and professional pressure, thinks about being a source of joy for someone else. He's showing more leadership and character on the sideline and in his personal life than the entire Browns coaching staff is showing in their press conferences. That reunion, that one day in Boulder, was probably more therapeutic and more valuable for his long-term health than any film session the Browns could have put him through. It was about reconnecting with his why. It was about remembering why he loves the game and connecting with the people who helped him get here. And speaking of support, he also connected with an absolute legend, Ray Lewis, another figure who knows a thing or two about overcoming adversity, about mental fortitude. And this little interaction, this story Shedeur shared, it just shows you the kind of person he is and the pressure he's trying to manage. He's clearly going through it with this back injury. He's getting injections, which, if you know anything about that, is not fun. It's painful. And he said he was getting this treatment and he saw that famous, iconic Ray Lewis pre-game dance video and he sent it to his group chat, joking, "This is how I feel after that injection." He said he laughed so hard he cried. That's real. That's human. He needed that release. He needed that moment of joy. He needed to find humor in his own pain. And you just know that Ray Lewis, being the motivational force he is, pulled Shedeur aside for a private conversation. You can bet he gave him that raw, unfiltered Hall of Famer advice about perseverance, about patience, and about staying ready for when that opportunity finally arrives. If anyone knows about turning setbacks into comebacks, it's Ray Lewis. Shedeur is seeking counsel from the right people. He's turning to his Hall of Fame father, and he's turning to Hall of Fame legends like Ray Lewis. He's doing everything right. He's handling this impossible, confusing situation with a grace and maturity that is almost unheard of. He hasn't demanded a trade publicly. He hasn't gone on social media and trashed his coach. He hasn't become a distraction in the locker room. He's showing up, he's working, he's rehabbing his back, and he's staying mentally sane by leaning on his family. And what is his reward for this professionalism? A spot on the bench. It's maddening. So let's just circle back to the organizational side of this, because it's the root of the problem. The Cleveland Browns stripped Kevin Stefanski of play calling duties. That is a massive flashing neon sign that says what we are doing is not working. It is a public admission of failure. You would think that a move that drastic, demoting your head coach from his primary duty, would be followed by other drastic moves. You'd think the next logical step would be, okay, the play calling was a problem and our quarterback play is a problem. Let's change both. But no, they demote the play caller, but they double down on the quarterback who wasn't working under that play caller. It makes zero sense. It's like your computer is broken. It won't turn on, so you unplug the monitor and plug it back in, and it still doesn't work. And instead of checking the computer itself, instead of checking the hard drive, you just keep unplugging the monitor over and over again, hoping that the 10th time you plug it in, it'll magically fix the computer. That's what Cleveland is doing. They keep running the same play with Dylan Gabriel, getting the same disappointing result, and they are refusing to try the other button, the Shedeur Sanders button. That is sitting right there. It is organizational paralysis. It is insanity. They're just hoping that Gabriel will magically turn into a franchise quarterback against a few theoretically weaker opponents. But we all know who he is. He's shown us. He's a backup quality quarterback, and he's in over his head as a starter. And who pays the price for this stubbornness? For this fear? Shedeur, obviously. His development is being actively, maliciously stunted. You only get so many years in this league. Your rookie contract is short. Every week he sits on that bench is a week. He's not getting game reps, not learning from mistakes, not growing, not building his resume. He can never get this time back. But who else pays the price? The fans. The Cleveland Browns fan base. Have they not suffered enough? Seriously, decades of dysfunction. Decades of quarterback mediocrity, of failed draft picks, of false hope. They watched this team pass on Patrick Mahomes. They watched them pass on Deshaun Watson the first time. They suffered through the Baker Mayfield drama. They suffered through the other Deshaun Watson contract debacle. And now, they finally have a spark. A kid with a huge following, incredible college production, a famous name, and undeniable electric talent. And the organization won't even let them see him. The fans are forced to watch this bland, boring, losing football week after week, knowing there is a potential answer just sitting there. The frustration in that city is boiling over, and it's because everyone outside that building can see how simple this is. The team is bad. The current quarterback is not the answer. You have another quarterback. Play the other quarterback. It is not complicated, but the Browns are complicating it because of fear, as Mary Kay Cabot suggests, or as Shady McCoy suggests, because of a personal bias. Either way, it's malpractice. This is why the calls are getting louder, and they're logical. If you won't play him, trade him, free him. If Kevin Stefanski genuinely doesn't see him as the future, if the front office is too scared to play him, and if, as Tony Grossi suggests, they're just gonna draft another quarterback anyway, then what is the point of keeping him on the roster? You are actively destroying a player's development and his trade value at the same time. Right now, Shedeur Sanders still has that high draft pick shine. He's an unknown quantity. Another team, a team with a quarterback injury or a team that's rebuilding, would absolutely take a shot on him. Think about the Washington Commanders. Think about any number of other franchises who would love to bring in a guy with his pedigree without spending a first-round pick. Let him go. Let him go to an organization that will actually use him, that will develop him. It's the most humane thing to do at this point, and for the Browns, it's the smartest thing. Get more draft capital. If you're so convinced you need to draft another quarterback, then get more picks to do it. This middle ground they're in right now, this keep him on the roster but hide him in the closet. It's the worst of all worlds. It helps no one. It doesn't help Shedeur. It doesn't help the Browns, and it doesn't help the fans. And they're not thinking about the long-term message this sends. Players around the league are watching this. Agents are watching this. Future draft prospects. And their families are watching this. They're seeing how Cleveland is handling a high-profile rookie. They're seeing a guy who is doing everything right, being professional, working hard, rehabbing, staying quiet, and it's still not enough to even get a look on a losing team. Why would any future rookie quarterback want to go to Cleveland after this? You're telling the world that merit doesn't matter in your building. You're telling them that no matter how talented you are, a coach's personal feelings or the front office's fear will keep you on the bench. That reputation, that stench, it sticks to a franchise. And it's going to haunt them the next time they're trying to convince a top prospect that Cleveland is the right place for them. It's a tragedy. That's what it is. It's a completely avoidable, self-inflicted tragedy. It's a cautionary tale about organizational dysfunction. Shedeur Sanders has worked his entire life, dealt with the shadow of his father's name, proved himself at every single level, only to land in professional purgatory. His back injury, I guarantee you, is at least partially stress-related. How could it not be? The mental weight of this situation, with no physical outlet to release it on the field, it manifests physically. This whole situation is broken. The Browns face a critical decision. They can continue down this path of fear. They can continue to be cowards. They can continue to hide behind Dillon Gabriel and run out the clock on a lost season. They can continue to let a personal bias, if Shady McCoy is right, dictate their roster decisions. Or they can finally do the logical thing. The only logical thing. Either put Shedeur Sanders on the field and find out once and for all what you have, or trade him to someone who will. This current situation cannot continue. It's a disservice to the game, it's a disservice to the fans, and most of all, it is a massive disservice to Shedeur Sanders. He deserves better, we all know it, and the Browns are looking more and more foolish every single day they deny it. But that's just how I see it. I want to know what you think. Make sure you share your thoughts on this developing situation in the comments below. Do you think Cleveland will finally play Shedeur Sanders this season? Is Shady McCoy right? Is this a personal issue where Stefanski simply doesn't want him on the field? Or do you think the Browns are right to be cautious? And what is the end game here? Should the Browns trade Sanders to give him a fresh start somewhere else? What would you do if you were running the Cleveland Browns right now? Drop your opinions below, because this conversation is far from over, and the decisions Cleveland makes in the coming weeks will have lasting implications for everyone involved. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on this story or any other breaking news from around the NFL. This situation is developing rapidly, and you'll want to stay connected for every new revelation. Until next time, stay locked in. The Shedeur Sanders saga is far from over.